let's see, my journey with personal finance started by accident, actually. I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. My mom is a real estate investor. Her whole family are real estate investors. And my dad is also an entrepreneur. He owned and operated franchise businesses for my whole life in Texas, where I grew up. And then when we moved to Boulder, he bought a franchise and did that until he retired.
Nice.
So we talked about money at the dinner table, whether we were talking about, business decisions or what's happening in the market, or what should we do with this property, or should we leverage this, or should we buy this, or should we sell? And so I just thought that was normal, because as a kid, you think everything your parents do is right and normal, right?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
So I got to college, and I knew that I wanted to buy property as soon as I could.
Awesome.
So after college, I moved to Boston, and I lived with my 3 best girlfriends, and I got my first job, which happened to be in real estate.
Nice.
And I was working for this boutique company. We only sold $1 million and up properties. So I was the manager of this little boutique company, and I helped doing all the marketing and showings. I had to get my broker's license in Massachusetts at the time. It was like you skipped agency and you went straight to broker. So it's just me and the principal of this company. And I worked probably 70 hours a week on average, and really learned a lot. I learned a lot about how wealthy people communicate with each other. I saw how they, I learned the questions that they ask each other, and how they don't take action if it's not important, and really kind of preserve your energy and use it where it's going to be most useful. And I learned a lot about real estate. And I also knew that I wanted to buy a condo and start my life and start getting in the market and really building wealth. But at the time, I could buy a condo there for about $350,000 where I wanted to live, which was, of course, in the city.
In New York?
In the city, in Boston.
Oh, in Boston. Oh,
Yep,
okay.
yep.
I was like, 350.
Okay, this is 2001.
Okay.
This is 2001, and I was working in the South End of Boston, and I wanted to buy there.
Sure.
But I just knew that I didn't want to be house poor.
Sure.
And so after 3 years living there, I went back to Colorado.
Okay.
And I lived with my parents. And
Nice.
part of the reason that I did that, it was really 2 things. One of them was that I wanted to buy property, and I didn't think that I'd be able to do it with my salary, my entry-level salary at the time. But the other reason I moved back to live with my parents is because I got really sick when I lived in Boston.
Really?
And I had health insurance, but at the time it wasn't mandatory that you have a rider saying that you have to have prescription coverage. My medication was $5,000 a month. So,
Okay.
on the one hand, thank goodness
Wow.
I had credit, because my mom,
Sure.
put me on her credit card, instant credit right there when I was a teenager. And I built my credit all the way until, I was in my 20s.
Sure.
And so I was able to fall back on those credit cards to buy my medication, which is good. But after 6 months of that, I'm looking and I'm like, $30,000.
Oh my God.
Like, how am I? And I want to buy property? No way. And I was sick. So
Sure.
who better to go home to than your parents?
right. They're good for that. Absolutely.
Yes.
I can agree with that. Nice. Wow.
So to get to, how I got my start in personal finance,
Sure.
from there, I moved home. I started to get better. I got a great job, again, in real estate, and I just saved every penny that I earned. And during that time, I was working for a home builder, found a great house, and built my first house in 2005.
Nice.
And I'm asking myself, why aren't my friends doing this? It was empowering for me because I immediately got a couple of roommates and started making a little bit of money.
Nice.
And I wanted to help other people in the way that my parents had helped me by just giving me that education. You need savings, you need a good credit score, and you need a job to buy property. And I had those things.
Awesome.
So I started teaching young adults financial literacy. I went to Rotary International, who had given me a couple scholarships to study abroad in Japan when I was in high school and in Spain when I was in college.
Nice.
And I said, hey, why don't this could be my service project, a way for me to give back. I'll go to local high schools and teach financial literacy. And that's how it all began. And I did that alongside my full-time jobs, all of my consulting gigs and finance, working with startup companies all throughout the years. And then in 2012, I turned it into a business and started doing it more. And then in 2016, I started teaching personal finance, financial coaching, financial education full-time.
Wow.